Welcome to the TOEFL listening section. In this part, you will hear one or more conversations in an academic or campus context, such as a discussion between a student and a professor, or between two students. You may take notes while listening. Listen to part of a conversation. You will hear it only once, so listen carefully. After the conversation, you will answer questions about what you heard. Some questions will ask you about main ideas and details. Others will ask about implied meaning, speaker attitude, or how ideas relate to one another. Use both what is stated and what is implied to answer.
Good afternoon, Dr. Carter. Thank you for meeting with me during office hours to discuss my capstone on workplace equality metrics.
Good afternoon, Lucas. I read your abstract, and I thought we should focus on how metrics actually drive change and what pitfalls to avoid.
Exactly. I am trying to design a dashboard that shows representation, pay equity, and promotion rates, but I am not sure which indicators are most meaningful for measuring outcomes.
Start with basic representation by job level, and then disaggregate by gender and race and other relevant identities. That way you can see distribution across entry, mid, and senior levels.
When you say disaggregate, do you mean breaking the data into smaller groups so that averages do not hide disparities?
Yes, exactly. We disaggregate metrics by gender and race to reveal intersectional disparities that overall averages obscure.
That makes sense. I also have data on hiring and attrition. Is attrition rate a good metric for equity work?
Attrition is crucial because it captures retention problems which representation snapshots miss, especially if you look at voluntary attrition among women and women of color.
Should I calculate attrition as a simple percentage of resignations each year, or use cohort analysis?
Cohort analysis is preferable because it follows groups over time and shows whether certain cohorts are leaving faster than others. That exposes patterns linked to promotion or onboarding.
What about pay equity? I have salary information, but roles differ widely. How do I make a fair comparison?
Use regression analysis, controlling for job level, tenure, education, and performance where possible. Then look at the unexplained pay gap after controls. That residual gap points to potential bias.
So we should report both raw pay gaps and adjusted gaps.
Yes, raw gaps communicate lived inequality. Adjusted gaps indicate what cannot be explained by legitimate factors and therefore may reflect inequity.
I am worried about small sample sizes in senior leadership. When I disaggregate further, how do I handle that statistically?
Small samples require caution. Report confidence intervals and explain when numbers are not statistically significant. Avoid drawing strong conclusions from very small groups.
Would you recommend suppressing categories below a certain size for confidentiality?
Yes. Apply suppression rules for privacy and also flag where sample size limits interpretation. You can aggregate similar categories when appropriate.
I want to include qualitative context too. Should I interview employee resource groups or use pulse surveys?
Both methods are useful. Surveys give you an inclusion index over time, and interviews provide narratives that help explain why metrics look the way they do.
How do I combine qualitative findings with quantitative metrics without biasing readers?
Present qualitative themes as explanatory evidence and show how they correspond to patterns in the data. For example, use quotes to illustrate mechanisms behind high attrition or promotion bottlenecks.
You mentioned promotion bottlenecks. Can you explain a metric to capture that specifically?
Calculate promotion rates by gender and level. Compare median time to promotion and probability of promotion controlling for performance indicators. That reveals whether promotion pipelines are equitable.
Should I include hiring funnel metrics, like interview to hire ratios?
Absolutely. The hiring funnel shows where representation drops off. For instance, a balanced applicant pool, followed by a skewed interview. Shortlist points to bias in screening.
What about benchmarking and targets? Should I set numerical targets for representation?
Benchmarks are important. Use industry and labor market benchmarks for context. Targets should be realistic, time-bound, and linked to strategy. Targets alone are not a solution, but they create accountability.
How do organizations avoid box ticking when they use metrics?
Avoid reducing metrics to a scorecard without action. Pair metrics with specific interventions such as sponsorship programs, changes to job design, and bias-aware hiring practices, then track intervention outcomes.
Is there a risk that predictive analytics will entrench bias if models are trained on biased historical data?
Yes, predictive models can replicate bias, so you must audit algorithms for disparate impact and include fairness constraints. Also interpret model outputs with subject matter experts.
For my dashboard, should I show trend lines or only current snapshots?
Show both trends are vital because they show whether interventions are working. Snapshots are useful for baseline comparisons, but trends tell the story of change.
Can you suggest a concise set of KPIs I should include?
Include representation by level, disaggregated attrition and retention rates, promotion rates, median adjusted pay gap hiring, funnel conversion rates, and an inclusion index from surveys.
When presenting to executives, which metric usually gets their attention?
Executives respond to metrics that link to business outcomes. For example, retention costs, leadership, diversity, and promotion bottlenecks that affect succession planning.
Are there ethical concerns I should highlight in my report?
Yes, data privacy consent and the potential for stigmatizing small groups are key. Consider governance rules and transparent communication about how metrics are used.
How should I validate my findings before I publish them?
Triangulate results using multiple data sources. Get feedback from employee groups and run sensitivity tests on your models. Check for coding errors and outliers.
Do you have an example of a successful metrics-driven intervention I might include as a case study?
I can share an anonymized example where a company reduced promotion time disparities by instituting transparent promotion criteria and sponsorship. Their promotion rate gap narrowed within 2 years.
That would be perfect for the examples section. I will also document methods for reproducibility.
Good plan to include methodology, sample sizes, and limitations so readers understand what conclusions are supported.
Thank you, Dr. Carter. One will revise the dashboard prototype, add confidence intervals and qualitative themes, and then send it to you for feedback.
Send it over and include a short memo explaining each KPI and why you chose it. I will look for clarity of interpretation and ethical safeguards.
I will do that, and I appreciate the guidance on disaggregation, cohort analysis, and regression controls.
You're welcome, Lucas. This is important work for advancing workplace equality and improving measurable outcomes.
Listen again to part of the conversation. Then answer the question.
We disaggregate metrics by gender and race to reveal intersectional disparities that overall averages obscure.
This concludes the conversation portion. For more TOEFL practice tests and study materials, visit Spinta.org.